It was a Tuesday when they rolled me into this room. A Tuesday. Isn't that something? Not even a Sunday, not a day when the sun shines sweetly on old bones, or a Saturday when grandchildren might visit with sticky hands and noisy stories. No, a plain Tuesday. Just me, a folded sweater, and silence. They say the room is temporary, but I've been here long enough to know that temporary is just another word for forgotten. The kind of forgotten that starts with missed phone calls and ends with a daughter handing you over to strangers like you're an old coat that doesn't fit no more. Before I go on, tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? I'd love to know who's out there hearing this story with their heart. I watched her do it. I was there. Her eyes didn't cry, but mine did. I didn't let her see. Of course, a mother protects her child, even from her own shame. My name is Miss Thelma. The nurses here call me Miss T, like I'm some cheerful old soul with recipes and riddles tucked under my arm. But I'm not that today. Not this Tuesday. Today, I'm a woman remembering the cost of love and the price of silence. You see, I raised my daughter alone. Her father, left when my belly was barely showing, said he wasn't ready for all that. And I never made excuses for him, not to her, not to myself. I took my swollen ankles and swollen heart and worked 2 jobs just to make sure she had shoes that fit and books with her name in them. I washed floors at dawn and cooked for old white folks at night. I let my dreams get dusty so hers could shine. And shine they did. She went to college, got a good job, made herself a name that didn't carry my sweat behind it. And I was proud, laud. I was proud, but pride is a funny thing. It tastes sweet going down, but bitter when it's all you have left. The day she brought me here, she said, "Mama, you'll be safer. There's people here to take care of you. I can't do it all." And I wanted to say, "Baby, I did it all. I did it all for you." But I didn't. I just smiled. Because that's what mamas do. We hide our bruises so our children can pretend the world's been gentle. Now, I sit by a window that doesn't open, looking out at nothing. The walls are beige, like they scared of offending anyone. The food's soft and quiet, like the life they think I deserve. And every night, I listen to the shuffling of forgotten souls waiting on visits that never come. But I remember. I remember my girl, barefoot on summer sidewalks. I remember birthday cakes I stayed up all night to make, even when the sugar ran out. I remember her first heartbreak and how I held her like the world was ending. And now I wonder, who holds me? It's not just the loneliness that hurts. It's the wondering if love has an expiration date. Before the silence of this beige room, there was the noise of life. I was 23 when I found out I was pregnant. That same week my mama passed. She always said, "The Lord don't give you more than you can carry." But I swear, sometimes it felt like I was carrying the whole world on my back. I lived in a little shotgun house just outside Baton Rouge. It had a porch that leaned like it was tired of standing, and floors that creaked loud enough to make mice think twice. But it was mine. Rent was due every Friday, and there were weeks I paid in wrinkled bills and borrowed grace. I worked at Miss Lillian's diner on Jefferson Highway. My feet never stopped hurting, and my smile stayed pasted on like cheap wallpaper. Folks tipped light and always looked surprised when I spoke proper. I didn't care. I wasn't serving dignity on those plates, just grits and eggs and prayers to make it through the week. When my belly grew, so did the stares. Some people turned away, others offered advice I didn't ask for. But one thing about black women, we know how to gather dignity from the dirt. I held my head up high, even when my shoes had holes. My baby came in the spring. She was small, but loud, like God was making sure the world knew she had arrived. I named her Selena. It was a name I found in a book of poems left behind by a neighbor who moved up north. The name meant heavenly, and that's what she felt like, heaven after a storm. Those first years were hard. I'd tuck her in with lullabies made from memory, singing old spirituals I half remembered from my grandmother's voice. I'd pack her tiny lunch for daycare with whatever I could find. A boiled egg, a biscuit, maybe a slice of apple if I was lucky. I never let her see my worry. Children shouldn't grow up in shadows. The neighborhood wasn't kind, but it was ours. Miss Edna next door used to bring over greens from her garden. The twins across the street taught Selina how to double dutch. We didn't have much, but there was always laughter somewhere nearby, usually from the stoop, usually just before dusk. And inside that house, the stove was always warm. I cooked every night, even when I was tired. Red beans on Mondays, chicken, stew on Wednesdays. On Fridays, if I had a little extra, I'd fry catfish and we'd eat with our fingers, giggling at the grease on our chins. Selina loved my cornbread, said it tasted like sunshine and hugs. I held on to that like a medal. I kept a little journal in the drawer beside my bed. Every night, after dishes and bath time and stories, I'd write a little something. Not fancy, just truth. Selina smiled today when I kissed her cheek. Or, I cried in the bathroom at work, but I'm still standing. That journal held all the pieces of me no one else saw. There was one night, Selina was about 10. She came home crying. A girl at school had called her poor, said her clothes smelled like old people. I held her tight and whispered, "Baby, what they see as poor is just proof we're still climbing. And one day, you'll look down and see how far you've come." She wiped her tears and asked, "Will you be there when I get to the top?" And I said, "Always." That's the thing about promises. We make them with our hearts full, not knowing how heavy time can make them. When she turned 15, she got a scholarship to a fancy prep school, far from our neighborhood. I still remember the day she stepped onto that big yellow bus with her new uniform and shy smile. I waved until my arms hurt. I missed her every day, but I knew she was walking toward a future I could only dream of. Sometimes, though, when she came home, I saw her eyes scan the house like it was something she'd outgrown. She started correcting the way I spoke. She rolled her eyes at my old gospel records. And when I told her stories of my youth, she barely listened. But I didn't mind. Not then. I told myself it was just part of growing up. I'd done the same to my own mama. She got into college up north, first in the family. Lord, I cried, tears of pride, tears of fear. She was going so far, and I'd never even been on a plane. We packed her bags together. I slipped a photo of us into her notebook, one from when she was 4, sitting in my lap, both of us covered in flour from making biscuits. I hoped she'd find it one day when she missed home. But I don't know if she ever did. The calls became shorter, then fewer. I told myself she was busy. Important people got busy. But deep down, I felt it. That slow drifting. Like two boats that once sailed side by side, now caught in different winds. Still, I waited by the phone. Every birthday, every Christmas. I never stopped waiting. And now, here I am. In this place with its quiet halls and tired clocks. Remembering the days when the stove was always warm and my baby believed I could fix anything. Funny how life flips the page when you least expect it. But don't worry, I ain't done yet. You don't always notice the moment something ends. Sometimes it slips away quietly, like steam from a kettle, gone before you feel the cold. That's how it was with Selina. After she moved to Chicago, she came back home twice. The first time, it was Christmas. She brought a man with her, a tall one, light-skinned with soft hands and a polite laugh that didn't quite reach his eyes. I watched her cater to him like she used to cater to her dolls. I offered him sweet tea, and he smiled like he didn't drink it. That was fine. More for me. Selina wore heels inside the house. Heels, Lord. In my home, where we used to run barefoot across wooden floors, she clicked and clacked like she was scared to touch the ground. She hugged me, sure, but it was one of those, I'm in a rush Hugs, the kind you give when you're thinking about something else. She stayed 3 days, barely. Took one picture with me, posted it online, then packed her bags and flew back to her new world. The second time, it was my birthday. I turned 70, and the neighbors helped me throw a little gathering out on the porch. There was peach cobbler and old stories and the kind of laughter that fills in the cracks. I kept watching the street, waiting for her to show up. She came late, real late, and didn't stay long. No gifts, no cake, just excuses and perfume. That lingered after she left. And that was it. No more visits. Just calls, short, rushed, with long pauses like she was doing something else while I spoke. I'd ask about her life, her job, her man. She'd answer, but her words felt like crumbs. I hung on to each one like they were dinner. Then one day, the calls stopped too. I waited a week, then a month. I left voicemails, wrote a letter. Nothing. At night, I sat in the living room with her old picture frame in my lap, the one she gave me when she was in high school. It had "Best Mom Ever" etched in gold letters. Funny how heavy those words got over time. The pain wasn't like a sharp knife. It was dull, slow, like arthritis in the heart. I still cooked for two some nights, out of habit. Made her favorite, okra. Stew with cornbread, just in case she showed up. She didn't. And then came the fall. It was late October. I had just finished sweeping the porch when my legs gave out. No warning. Just gone, like someone had pulled the rug from under me. I lay there for hours before Miss Edna saw me from her kitchen window and called for help. Next thing I know, I was in a hospital gown with a nurse checking my blood pressure and a doctor. Asking about next of kin, I gave them Selena's number, her email, even her office address. They called. She didn't answer. When she finally called back, 3 days later, her voice was cold, tired. "Mama, I can't just drop everything." I told her I understood, but I didn't. They kept me for a week, said I needed physical therapy and observation, said it'd be safer if I didn't live alone. And that's when the brochures came out, those glossy papers with pictures of smiling seniors playing bingo or watering plants in matching sweaters. I knew what was coming. Selena flew in that weekend. I hadn't seen her in almost 2 years. She looked different, thinner, sharper. Her smile didn't reach her eyes anymore. She barely looked at my bruised knees. Instead, she talked about logistics. "It's the best thing for you," she said. "There's nurses, meals, people. Your age. You'll be safer. Safer." That word again. I wanted to ask, safer from what? From love? From memory? From being your mother? But I didn't. I nodded, because by then I was too tired to argue with the child I once sang lullabies to. She packed my things while I watched from the bed. She chose what came with me, what stayed behind. My favorite quilt didn't make the cut. Neither did my journals, just a suitcase, a photo, and the silence between us. When she drove me to the home, she barely looked back. No tears, no promises, just a quick hug and the sound of her heels clicking away. And then I was here. In this place where the TV is always on, but no one's really watching. Where nurses call you sweetie but don't know your middle name. Where birthdays are celebrated with cupcakes from a box and a card signed by strangers. I've tried to make peace with it. Some days, I even manage a smile. I talk to Miss Clara down the hall, who lost 2 sons to the war and a husband to cancer. I play dominoes with Mr. Henry, who used to teach music before arthritis took his fingers. We all carry our stories like old coats, heavy, worn, still warm in places. But at night, when the halls go quiet and the lights dim, I talk to God. I ask him if love really has an expiration date. If a child can forget the hands that held her through every storm, and I wonder if maybe, just maybe, it was my fault. Maybe I gave too much. Maybe I made it too easy for her to leave. But I'm not done yet. There's more to this story. more than pain, more than silence. It had been nearly a year since Selena dropped me off like luggage someone got tired of carrying. A year of watching the seasons change through someone else's window. A year of birthday cupcakes with names spelled wrong. A year of waiting for footsteps that never came. Then, one morning, everything changed. It was raining that day. Not a heavy storm, just that soft, steady kind. The kind that sounds like lullabies against the roof. I was sitting in the common room, pretending to read, when Nurse Kimberly walked in. "You got a visitor," she said, eyes wide like she couldn't believe it herself. My heart stuttered. I thought, Selena? I stood. Too fast. My knees ached, but I didn't care. I smoothed my dress, checked my reflection in the window. Hope can make an old woman foolish again, but it wasn't her. It was a young girl, about 22, maybe 23, skin like honey, hair in thick braids, wearing a coat 2 sizes too big. She walked in slowly, holding something wrapped in cloth. "Miss Thelma?" she asked. I nodded. "My name's Amani. I think I'm your granddaughter." It took me a second to breathe. "Granddaughter?" She sat down, hands trembling, unwrapped the cloth. Inside was a photo, my photo, the one I'd tucked into Selena's notebook before she left for college. She pointed. "That's you, right? And that's my mom, Selena." I sat down hard, tears already spilling. "She never told me much," Amani said, voice soft. "She said you were gone, not dead, just gone. I only found out last month. She was sick, real sick. Cancer. She passed on Christmas Eve." The room spun. I hadn't known. My child. Gone? "I'm sorry," Amani whispered. "I didn't know how to reach you before. She kept everything so closed. But when I found this picture in her things and the letter you wrote, I had to find you." "Letter?" She nodded. Pulled out a folded piece of paper. My handwriting, my words, from years ago. I couldn't even read it. Just holding it made my fingers shake. "I needed to see you," Amani said, "to know where I come from. She never let me." She said she was ashamed. "Of what?" I asked, voice breaking. She felt guilty, said she left you too soon. That she didn't know how to carry what you carried for her, said she ran away from the weight of your love. I sat there stunned. "She told me once," Amani continued, "that when she was little, you gave her everything, and that scared her, because she didn't think she could ever give back enough." I closed my eyes, the ache of those years folding into something new. "I don't want to make the same mistake," Amani said. "I want to know you. I want my son to know. You too." She turned and called softly, "Elijah, baby, come here." A small boy peeked in, about 4 years old, big eyes, my eyes. He came in holding a toy truck and looked up at me like I was a mystery he wanted to solve. "That's your great-grandma," Amani said, her voice trembling. He walked up and hugged my knees without a word. That moment, it broke something in me, and healed it too. I cried, not the soft tears I'd learned to hide, but deep, loud sobs that rattled my ribs. And Amani cried too. We held each other like pieces of a story trying to fit back together. She stayed for hours, told me about her life, her mother's final days, how Selena had tried, too late, to write me letters she never sent, how she'd kept my picture beside her bed in her final weeks. "She loved you," Amani said. "She just didn't know how to be your daughter anymore, not after everything." Later that evening, after they left, I sat by the window, holding Elijah's toy truck he forgot behind. The rain had stopped. The sun was peeking through, lighting up the room in a way it hadn't in a long time. Selena was gone. That hurt. That would always hurt. But now there was something else. A door had opened where a wall had stood for years, and behind that door was a child, and another, and maybe, just maybe, a second chance. I went to bed that night whispering Selena's name, not in anger, not in sorrow, but in love. A week after Amani and Elijah visited me for the first time, they came back. This time, she brought cookies. Not the store-bought kind either, real ones, still warm, soft in the middle, with chocolate that melted on your fingers. I hadn't tasted anything that sweet in years, not since I stopped baking myself. "You like them?" she asked, almost shy. I nodded, licking my fingers. "Tastes like home." She smiled, and I swear, for a second, I saw Selena in her face. The way her nose crinkled, how her eyes danced when she laughed. It was like my daughter came back to me, just for a breath. That day, Amani helped me braid my hair. My fingers don't work like they used to, but hers moved with grace. She oiled my scalp gently, parting my hair like she'd been doing it her whole life. I closed my eyes and let the sensation carry me. It had been so long since anyone touched my hair like that, with care, with love, with memory. "I watched videos," she admitted. "I wanted to do it right. For you." Later, we sat by the garden out back. Elijah played in the dirt, humming to himself. He'd brought a new toy, a plastic dinosaur he insisted was a dragon. He said he was protecting me with it. I believed him. "You know," I said, watching the boy dig, "I used to sit out in my backyard just like this. Selena would make little mud pies and say she was cooking like Mama." Amani leaned her head on my shoulder. "She never told me any of that. She was always afraid of needing me," I said. "Even when she needed me most." We were quiet for a long time after that. In the weeks that followed, they came often. Not every day, but enough that the nurses started teasing me about being popular. I didn't mind. I'd waited too, long for laughter to feel ashamed of it. Amani brought photos, old ones, pictures she found in Selena's apartment. Me holding a baby wrapped in a faded pink blanket. Selena at her 5th birthday, frosting on her cheeks. A high school graduation cap tilted on her head, my arms tight around her. She also brought letters. Selena had written them in her final months, letters to me, never mailed. In one she wrote, "Mama, I didn't know how to say I was sorry. I didn't know how to come back. I was ashamed of my success, of my distance, of not being enough. But I never stopped loving you. I want you to know that. I hope, one day, Amani will find you. I hope she will bring you back into our lives, even if I couldn't." I read those words again and again until the paper was soft as fabric from my tears. Amani asked one day, "What did you do before all this? Before the diner? Before being a mom?" I laughed. "Child, I barely remember. But I used to write, little poems, stories. I had dreams once." "Do you still write?" I shook my head. "Not in a long time." But that night after they left, I took out an old notebook the staff gave me, and I wrote, "I am still here. Not just a mother, not just a memory. I am breath. I am flame. I am the root that holds the tree upright." And it felt good. The staff set up a little reading night. I read that poem out loud. Amani came. So did Elijah. He clapped loudest, said, "Grandma's famous." I laughed so hard I cried. One day, Amani asked if I'd like to leave the nursing home. "Live with me," she said. "We got room. Elijah already calls you Grandma T. He asks for you every morning." I looked around the beige walls, the quiet halls, the name tags on doors. Then I looked at her, at the woman my daughter raised, the woman I had made possible through years of sacrifice, and I said, "Yes, if you'll have me." The day I left, the nurses hugged me. Miss Clara cried. Mr. Henry gave me one of his harmonicas for the road. I held tight to my memories, but I didn't take the pain with me. I left that behind, like an old coat no longer needed. Amani's house was small, but bright. There were plants on the windowsills and books everywhere. Elijah had a room filled with dinosaurs and loud laughter. And in the kitchen there was always the smell of something baking, just like home. Now, every Sunday I cook. Elijah helps. He stirs too much and eats raw dough, but I let him. That's the magic of being a grandma. You get to break the rules you once enforced. I started writing again, too. Amani helped me send a piece to a local magazine. They published it, called it The Warmth of Forgotten Hands. I got letters from other women, other mothers, who felt abandoned, who found pieces of themselves in my story. I write them back, everyone. Sometimes, late at night, I still talk to Selena. Not in grief, not in anger, but with love. I tell her, your girl found me. She brought me back to life. And I believe, somewhere, she hears me. I don't know how much time I have left. That's never been promised. But I know this. Love can bend. It can break. It can disappear for a time. But it can also return. In a child's hug. In a granddaughter's braid. In the warmth of a Sunday kitchen. I was left behind. But I'm no longer alone. Thank you for listening to this story. If it touched your heart, make sure to subscribe to our channel and stay with us for the next story. It's already waiting for you on the screen. Because every story told by a grandmother carries the strength of generations. Click and keep listening. We'll be right here.